My high school is one of the hardest in the state, hence why it provides a lot of opportunities for great colleges. I'm currently a senior, and I know exactly where I want to go. I understand how damn important my grades are junior and senior year, and I have to take it a lot more seriously than I did my first 2 years. You do hard work, and you get rewarded for it. Unfortunately, a lot of students and parents in my area don't agree with this sentiment. I live in a fairly upper class town. Not rich, but pretty well off. So it's no surprise that a lot of people living here are stuck up, snobby cunts. There's a notorious gang of eps that was known all through elementary and middle school for threatening and bribing the school to let their kids pass and give them second chances. He mostly got away with this behavior for a good 8 years. But then college applications rolled around. And oh boy did these eps lose their ducking minds. Here's the thing they refuse to accept. Colleges are not high schools. While I've heard from a lot of older friends who graduated that college wasn't as stressful as our school, they are not obligated to put up with your shit or your parents' shit. They will not be bullied into your demands, and you're sure as hell not gonna get away with trying to bribe your precious baby into their schools. The only way you're getting into those schools is through hard work and good behavior, both of which the kids of these eps had none of. Onto the rage. I remember walking into school at around 6:30 AM to meet with my guidance counselor, only to hear screaming and shouting coming from the student resources room. I straight up grimaced because I had to wait in there for my counselor, and I knew what they were yelling about too. I walk in, and what do you know? The fucking Karen squad is surrounding one of the staff and berating her about college admissions. These parents were demanding that they contact the colleges about why their kids were rejected, and when the person told them that they can't do that at the moment, the parents exploded. I have to sit across from this one mom who's red-faced and looks like she's about to kill someone. All because her precious little angel girl didn't get accepted to her dream school. Thankfully I got called back into my counselor's office pretty early, and we went over which of the schools on my list I wanted to attend. I asked her why the hell the people outside were so angry about, and she said parents not getting what they want. It happens every single year. When I'm leaving I hear literal screeching in the hallway. It's a Karen on her cell phone spewing venom at a college admin for explaining why her daughter was not accepted. She kept threatening him with imaginary charges and even physical violence. The dude laughed and hung up. It's always really funny watching shitty parents stomp their feet and cry when they learn that their manipulation tactics don't work on the education system anymore. They've been harassing and threatening their child's journey through school for so many years that when that power is finally taken away they throw a toddler-level tantrum and scream how it's unfair. First of all, a bit of a disclaimer. Although I find this story interesting, it doesn't have a happy ending. Also, this isn't a first-hand account. This comes from my brother, who was in this kid's class, and the subsequent stories that ended up floating around afterwards, mostly out of outrage. So we all went to a small high school in the middle of nowhere. So you knew everybody, and everyone knew your business. We had this student, let's call him LK for Lazy Kid, who although never doing great in school still did decent. At the end of grade 11 he was barely failing a couple classes, so the LK's parents came in basically threatened taking it to the school district if they didn't let him move on to the next grade. Just so you know, taking something to the school district is stressful for the school and cannot be worth it if not for several things. So they agreed to bump up the grades just a bit so he could move on. The first semester of his final year rolls around and LK chooses to take a relaxed approach to school. This once again causes him to fail 2 of his classes, which is considered essential to graduate, as well as less than stellar marks in everything else. So this brought in the LK's parents again, and it was worked out that if LK takes these 2 essential classes again in the second semester, as well as his 2 last essential classes and 1 last credit, he can graduate at the end of the year. To put this into perspective, everyone, that is a completely packed semester. It is 5 classes, where most students only take 4 classes in their final semester, because it can be a lot to learn. So this is where it gets interesting. Essentially the LK hasn't taken responsibility for anything, and his parents just keep bailing him out. So I guess he completely stopped trying. LK would regularly skip classes, turn in projects late, and fail tests. A little over a month before LK was due to graduate, the parents were brought in to talk with everyone, all the teachers involved, principal, vice principal and a couple administrators. Essentially they told the parents that there was no way that they could let LK graduate, and knowing LK's parents' past threats to bring in the school district, they were fully prepared to back it up. So of course the LK's parents bring it to the school board. I'm pretty sure they accuse the school of everything they could come up with. I know of a few of them being harassment, unfair grading, unfair test, and sure there were a lot more. The school district takes stuff like this very seriously and spend weeks going over their claims. They consider withholding a student's graduation to be a pretty big deal. Thankfully, true to their word, the school backed up all the claims, and the teachers, as well as made sure all the problems that the school was having with LK was well documented. The school district decided to side with the school and believed that LK shouldn't graduate. So LK's parents decided that the only thing left to do was to hire an expensive lawyer and threaten to sue the school. This is where the school district had to buckle. They were just the overseeing body for a bunch of small schools, and they had limited funding. There was no way they could go to court. So the school district caved and let LK graduate. There were some outraged parents of other kids, annoyed teachers, and it ultimately didn't matter because he was graduating and none of us had to see LK again. This happened yesterday, and damn, me and my friends are in the metro and we saw this M harassing this blind guy who was sitting in the disabled seat. She wanted the seat for her kid. At the end this happened. M, get up and move. Your legs work, so you don't need a seat. Disabled people shouldn't even be in public. They are just a nuisance to everyone else. Blind guy, agreed. Then probably you should have remained at home, because your brain is clearly disabled. She didn't have a comeback for that roast, so she just left him alone after that. She was clearly embarrassed. This is not my story, but my friend's. He is a teacher, has been for about 30 years, and after I introduced him to this subreddit, he had a lot of stories come to mind. This is one of them. A few years ago, he went on a school trip with a group of kids. One of the kids, let's call her Sunny, had specific dietary requirements. The children were obviously provided 3 meals a day while on this trip, and Sunny's mother, let's call her Karen, told my friend to call her every night to inform her of what Sunny had eaten that day, because all teachers are terrible at making sure kids don't die apparently, but whether this request was to do with allergies or a sudden case of veganism, I don't know. The first night of the trip, after the kids had eaten and gone to bed, my friend, let's call him Ned, called Karen to let her know what her daughter had eaten that day. He tried phoning her, no answer. He tried again, no answer. He tried a third time, and a fourth, and a fifth. Now you might be wondering why Ned was being so persistent in getting in touch with Karen. Karen was very insistent that she be kept informed. We all know how Karens can be. After several more attempts, Ned finally gets through to Karen. Before he can get a word in, she screams at the top of her voice, "I'm going to call the police. Whoever you are, stop calling this number." A beat of silence. Ned, in a calm teacher voice, "Hello, Karen. This is Mr. Teacher. I'm just calling to inform you of what your daughter has eaten today for your request." There's a long and awkward pause. Karen, meekly, "Oh, thank you very much." He tells her the information she wants, and they end the conversation. The next night he phones her again. She says that he doesn't need to tell her every night, and that she trusts their judgment. Gotta love Karens. I had just started working at a preschool, and I had worked there for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. That evening we had a parents' dinner, and the idea was for me to mingle and get to know the parents. I was nervous, but at the same time excited, honestly. Earlier that day the kids were out on the playground and me and my colleague were outside. However, I noticed that I had to change the diaper of one of the kids. Nothing out of the ordinary. My colleague is outside with the kids and I quickly go in with the kid, change diaper and go back outside. 1 hour later the parents start to arrive, and in walks M, entitled Mom, and I had already had a bad feeling about her. We talk and I mingle, but she creeped me out. She looked kind of insane. You know when you look at someone in the eyes and they seem empty and always have that fake smile across their face. Anyway, hours pass and everything is fine. All of a sudden Em starts yelling at my boss. Apparently PK, poor kid, had a bruise on his forehead. Nothing big, no scratch, just a little bump. I mean, kids play all the time and get bruises. Anyway, she starts yelling at my boss, demanding to know how this happened. My boss was honest and said she didn't know, but knew PK had been outside during the afternoon and mentions that he was with me, but for some reason forgets to say my colleague name who had left for the evening. Em walks up to me, pulling her kid with her aggressively. How could you let this happen? She yells at me, drawing attention to the other parents. Remember, I'm new, trying to get to know the other parents and super nervous. I tell her that I haven't seen him fall, cry or hurt himself when we were outside, but that I left my colleague with the kids for a couple of minutes to change diaper. I asked the kid if he was in pain and PK said no. Em, don't you lie, it hurts doesn't it? And presses her finger on his bruise. I mean, of course it fucking hurt if you press your finger into a bruise, stupid bitch. PK starts crying obviously. See how irresponsible you've been. My kid is now crying because of you. Again, I explained that I wasn't there, my college was, and I couldn't have done anything to prevent it. Also that kids do in fact fall sometimes, and he has been fine all evening. Em then starts yelling at my boss that I should be fired, that I'm irresponsible, and that I should never have interaction with her kid again. This was super embarrassing because all the parents were in the same room, everybody looking at us. Not a good first impression. My boss is calm, collected and repeats what I had just said to Em. Em grabs her kid aggressively, pulling him away from us, yelling that she's gonna change preschool. Of course she didn't, and then pretended like nothing happened the next time she saw me. After the humiliation, I went into the office and had to take a breath because it was so embarrassing. My boss came in and reassured me that it's fine, and it's not the first time this has happened with this Em. Anyway, I get that you can be a mama bear, but don't fucking press your finger aggressively into your child's bruise to prove your point. Fucking hated her from that day on. Fun thing though, her kid loved me, and Em didn't seem too pleased with that. Did you enjoy this video? Leave a like and subscribe to Brody for more.